you know, if you want, hey, look, a video recording device.
Oh, I should have warned you about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Is this going to end up on the internet again?
With any luck.
Again. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong about this, is going to be maybe a problem. But my understanding is that we're here to talk about sort of sustainability and engineering, and I'm presuming that you guys are all kind of aiming towards some kind of engineering as a profession. And I would hope, or maybe this is wrong, this part could be wrong, it would be no problem, that you're also sort of thinking like, oh, it would be good if I could work in renewable energy or something along those lines. You might find what I say moderately interesting if that's not the case, but I don't know, there's probably someone that, who works for the Army could tell you better, if you're really into military stuff. So, so that's the main target, but I think actually, really, this is actually good news, is that being a renewable energy engineer, as I myself am, is actually very similar to just being an engineer. I work at a company by the name of Green Mountain Engineering in Somerville. We have another office in San Francisco. And we sort of, this will be on the internet, this will be great. Maybe our clients can see this. Well, here's the thing. I think the company is kind of, in a sense, I'll say in a sense, the company is a scam. That is to say, when we say, oh, we're a renewable energy company, we do wind, we do solar, we do biofuels, in reality, the skills needed for all those things are totally disjoint. They're very different, aside from the general skills needed for engineering, right? So really, if you're getting, I mean, it's also true that for things like, if you want to make a, let's say you want to make an MOCVD reactor. What's that? I barely even know, but I'm going to make one. Probably really shouldn't go on the internet, but that's probably all right though. To do that kind of thing, you need to have very specific technical knowledge. But your hope of learning that in college is exactly zero. Or if you are, you're doing something crazy. You're you're getting too specialized too soon. So you shouldn't do that. So the point of what I'm really trying to say, or what the larger point here, will be that really, I don't think you should try to prepare yourself to be a renewable energy engineer by studying renewable energy. I think that's probably a bad idea. Or it's not really a bad idea, it's just sort of unnecessary. What you really need to do is become a good engineer. Oh, I was going to kill him if he came late. Oh, I would kill myself. Never mind. Greetings, welcome to us talking about things. So I think that really what you should do when you're in college is try to learn as broad, and perhaps even beyond engineering. Maybe you should study some other things too. But you should, at least in engineering, try to get as broad sort of exposure to different subjects as you can. And actually, I came up with a theory recently, which is that if you find a class boring, it's probably, there's one chance is that maybe you really shouldn't be an engineer. Like, there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm really good at math. I know, I'll go be an engineer. And then you're kind of like, what? Wait, that doesn't really make any sense. And you think, oh, I'll take all these engineering classes, and maybe they're easy for you, but then you get out of school and you're like, wait a minute, math, what is that? So I can manipulate symbols, systems of abstraction easily. Does that mean that you're good at being an engineer? Not really. So it's possible that like maybe 10% of you are actually just really good mathematicians and you just give up. Hopefully that's not, hopefully that's not too bad. I mean, if it is, it's not too bad. Being a mathematician is also a great thing, but I wouldn't want to confuse it with being an engineer. So my theory about things, if you're taking a class that's boring, I bet, I could be wrong about this. I don't know that much about this school in particular, but at most colleges, they don't teach classes in things that are not useful. So like the most boring class that I took in college, well, this was actually in grad school, was, I don't remember this, it was something about controls, which means like trying to take you have I don't know, a block of metal. I don't know why you would do this, but it's on some sort of slide that moves back and forth, and you want to move it someplace really close, really quickly, and you don't want it to go you want it to just shoot right there. So how do you do that, right? I think that's an interesting question. But for some reason, when I took that class, we just had to talk about things like complex frequency and root locuses and things that are just like, oh, what does that even mean? I don't know. And the unfortunate thing is that it wasn't that the subject was boring, it was the teacher, I mean, he's a nice guy, but I don't think he was really that good, or maybe it wasn't the right time for me. But the main point is, I've spent like 10 years trying to learn that afterwards. So my point is, if you have a class that's boring, it's probably, you're missing something, and you should really try to not miss it. It maybe means like you should try harder, or try to figure out like, can I somehow learn this material some other way? The thing you should not do is say, oh, that subject's boring, I don't like that, because you're probably wrong. I mean, maybe you're right. There's a chance. There's some stuff that really is, I don't know, some things are actually boring, I guess. I don't know what they would be, but there probably are. There must be some things that are boring. Okay, so that's just one thing I thought I should say is that first you should try to take a broad set of classes, and you should not be deterred by things that are boring, unless they're actually boring. But I don't know how to detect those things. I really do think it's true that there are very few classes you can actually, you may take classes that are poorly taught, but it's very unlikely that you will take classes that are actually covering subjects that are just like, and this is just like, you know, studies in stacking toothpicks or something. You know, that would be perhaps truly boring, but I don't know. That would probably be boring. So that's the first thing that I think is a good thing to say. The second one, and then I'll talk about this probably for a while, at least until someone asks me a question, and maybe afterwards too, if I don't understand the question. Oh, you have a question? Yes. Yes.
What's your name?
Oh, that's a good one. My name is Brandon.
Brandon?
Brandon, yeah. My last name's Stafford. Oh, we'll do a little biographical sketch. Are you like Googling me right now or something like that?
No, I'm trying to take notes, but
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to put your name on the first line, right?
That's a good idea. That's a great
Mountain engineering guy.
This sort of breaks the ice, you know. I guess I was on ice before this. So my name is Brandon Stafford. Let's see, what's the brief biographical sketch? I mistakenly majored in English as an undergrad. I was a high school math teacher due to a fluke in which I was trying to become a high school English teacher because that seemed like the best thing you could do with an English degree. Maybe it wasn't. But then some guidance counselor was like, well, all the English internships are filled up. Do you know how to teach remedial algebra? And I was like, sure, okay. And then somehow I ended up teaching math, and then I got another job teaching math, and then I went to grad school in math, and then I found out about engineering, and then and then suddenly just because this one woman was like, those are full, go to the math thing. So sometimes now I'm over here. That's one way of saying it. That's sort of fake though. It's funny, but it's sort of fake. Another way to say it is, I was sort of obsessed with building things my entire life, and somehow I missed engineering as an undergrad. You guys seem to be fortunately not missing that. I saw there was a big sign about engineering at the front of the place, so presumably most of you have gotten some exposure to it by now. I mean, given that it's March. Okay, so let me see if I can. Oh wait, did I finish the biographical sketch? The biographical sketch was I majored in English. It was kind of a waste of time. It was sort of stupid. It was boring. I wonder. It's actually possible.
Wait, but you just said that
yeah.
classes shouldn't be boring.
Yeah, I can actually say that with authority about engineering. I can't say that with authority about English. I can say with a fair bit of certainty that of classes that are taught in engineering schools, and maybe not every single class in every engineering school, but at least for most of them, if they're conventional classes, the subjects, if they're boring, it's because they're poorly taught, not because they're that subject should never be taught as it is purposeless or something. There could be exceptions, but I think it's unlikely.
Did you apply your English skills?
Oh, we'll get to that.
Oh.
Yeah, the answer is no. The answer is no, but I would say, well, we'll just sort of skip ahead to, I'm not trying to be coy about that. One of the things I did when I was an English major, because it was boring, was work at a newspaper instead, like the college newspaper. And that was extremely useful. I would say learning how to write is a very, very useful skill. Because, let's see. So I think if you want to work at an engineering company and maybe, presumably, there's a lot of different companies you could work at, you probably don't want to work at one where you make this brilliant product and then the marketing team is no good and it never sells. Or your boss misunderstands what the product does and decides like it doesn't even work. That thing, it's broken, and throws it away. Or all sorts of horrible things could happen to you because you are not able to persuade people that what you're doing is really great and should be sold, or I mean not necessarily sold, but should be utilized. Like my job mostly, is that true? I'd say about a third to a half of my job is actually, and I think I have somewhere between a good and very, very good job. About a third to a half is just me like sending emails to people, trying to convince them of things. Like, no, here are the things that we've tried so far, none of them are going to work. Here are the things that